I'm really sorry to insult you, but your iPhone is starting to look a little bit small, at least in comparison to these. This is the iPhone 6 with a 4.7-inch display, and this is the iPhone 6 Plus with a 5.5-inch display. Yes, these have got bigger screens, but there's lots more in them too, including new cameras and NFC chips to help you kill your wallet. Both the 6 and the 6 Plus, but right here in front of me, I have a fully functional iPhone 6 clone that even says iPhone 6 right smack on the box. Just gotta give it a little shake and bake because this box is fighting me on getting it open, but I really found this interesting because if anybody has seen my good buddy Michael's, the Detroit Borgs unboxing, his actually came in an iPhone 5 box, so I was pretty surprised when I saw iPhone 6 stamped on the side. So, taking a look at the back, you can see it's very consistent in terms of what we've seen so far compared against the dummy mock-ups that leaked earlier this year, the big difference here being obviously it turns on and it functions. So because of those similarities and a few production parts that have leaked recently, I think it's fairly safe to say that this is essentially what the iPhone 6 will look like, give or take. I also just received a handful of iPhone 6 cases from Spigen, which may or may not add credibility to the whole leak and mock-up design, but regardless, if you guys are interested in checking those out, let me know by hitting that like button. Now, spoiler alert, this may look like an iPhone 6, but as far as performance goes, it is not snappy at all. It's sadly actually a massively underpowered iOS-skinned Android device, essentially. If you compare it to the iPhone 5S, for example, you can see in terms of performance on Geekbench, it gets absolutely destroyed. But what's interesting, though, if you look at the specs on paper, they're actually pretty close. They're both dual-core, they're clocked around 1 GHz, but I think this is a testament to not only Apple's performance hardware-wise, but software as well. So continuing on with the unboxing, because there actually was content and accessories which I found amusing, the first thing up is a quick start guide, which says hello right smack there on the front, just like Apple products, but if you dig a little bit deeper and look inside, the most hilarious thing that stood out to me is those are iOS 6 screenshots, so yeah. Next up, and I'm willing to bet these aren't authentic, probably less earpods and more white color stereo bass headphone mic volume control remote earphone earpods headset for iPhone, but nevertheless, at least alongside your iPhone 6 clone, you get iPhone 6 earpod clones. Following that, we have the USB wall charger hanging out there wrapped up all nicely and such. This really isn't anything too spectacular, but at the very least, you can charge your iPhone 6 clone. Next up after that is the USB wall charger's PIC, the faux lightning cable, and alongside that is the SIM ejection tool. Now obviously I'm not going to bank on the lightning cable being authentic either, but at the very least it was still pretty cool that they included the entire package like you would get with an iPhone. So now that we've blasted through the unboxing portion, we can dive in and dig a little bit deeper into the clone. I think obviously the biggest noticeable difference aside from the screen size increase is the complete aesthetic change from the iPhone 5S. No longer on the backside will we see those glass portions on the top and the bottom like the iPhone 5S. That will be replaced by what I would assume to be aluminum by the final production model. That is kind of sectioned off by the dual line design on the top and the bottom where presumably the antennas would go, but I think that kind of makes the iPhone 6 design look eerily similar to the HTC One M8, and if you agree or disagree, let me know with a comment down below. One thing I do want to point out that I do not like, and it's been consistent across the dummy mock-ups, is the fact that the camera on the back side of the iPhone 6 clone pops up. So to me, that would make it very vulnerable to scratches, something similar to the iPod Touch. I know it's probably going to be sapphire coated, but at the very least, why would you want to increase chances of damaging one of the most important pieces on your phone? You can also see different aside from the iPhone 5S, the Apple logo on the iPhone 6 clone is actually indented and recessed in there, much like we saw on the iPad mini with Retina display and iPad Air. Now another big difference between these two is the actual power and sleep wake button. On the iPhone 5S, it's located on the top right-hand side, whereas
I'm really sorry to insult you, but your iPhone is starting to look a little bit small, at least in comparison to these. This is the iPhone 6 with a 4.7-inch display, and this is the iPhone 6 Plus with a 5.5-inch display. Yes, these have got bigger screens.
Both of those look like the footprint is pretty close to identical. iPhone 6 is a little bit taller because it's got a gigantic bezel on the bottom for that home button. Maybe Apple should consider virtual buttons. Hashtag just saying. So if those two look like side by side, we can bring in the Galaxy S5 with a 5.1-inch screen, see what that looks like. It looks like the chubby brother. I mean, this is a big difference here. Looking at all these phones right in front of me, the Galaxy S5 is not a good-looking phone, I don't think. It's a good phone, but it's not going to win like the beauty contest. It might win the talent competition, but probably like not the swimsuit part of it. Anyway, see what those two look like. There we got some of that action. Let's bring in the HTC One M8 with its 5-inch screen. This phone still feels really nice in the hand. Push those two side by side, and look, there might be some similarities on the back of these two. Look at that. Looks like some design cues were taken from this guy when this guy came out. I'm just saying they look like a before and after picture of like a weight loss commercial. Let's see what these two look like. Definitely see how thin the iPhone 6 Plus is. We've got one of my favorite phones of the year, really ever, the LG G3 with its 5.5-inch screen and almost no bezel on the side. So these are the same screen size, keep that in mind. And check that sucker out. I mean, it is pretty surprising what LG did with this guy. Just for fun and for family's sake, let's bring in, here is the iPhone 5S with its 4-inch screen. And it's like, oh my gosh, it looks so tiny. So tiny and little, and also surprisingly fat. When this design came out, it was really thin, but now it feels like old news. Makes you think what this thing's gonna feel like in a year, and you're like, ew, this was so